Alright, let's take a look at how this chatbot works in action. As you can see, I've already got the website loaded, and now I'm going to open the chat by clicking the icon in the bottom right corner. Now let's say I want to ask about automation. I'll type in, hey, do you do anything around automation? As you can see, the chatbot responds right away, confirming it can help with automation. Let's continue with a more specific question. Now, the chatbot suggests setting up a meeting as the next step. I'll reply, that sounds great. Yes, let's organize a meeting. Here, the chatbot asks for some basic details to schedule the meeting. I'll respond with my info. Yep, it's Luke, helloaiwise.com.au, and how about tomorrow at 10 a.m? And just like that, the meeting is booked. It even asks if there's anything else I need, but I'll wrap this up here. And there we go. The meeting is all set, and everything was taken care of with just a few quick messages. Now that we've seen how the chatbot works, let's dive into some of the real benefits it brings to the table. First, we have instant FAQ assistance. One of the biggest time savers for any business is being able to instantly respond to common questions. With this chatbot, the system can handle all those repetitive FAQs. Next, let's talk about quick meeting detection. This feature is smart. It can tell when someone is ready to take the next step and schedule a meeting. Rather than missing out on opportunities, the chatbot recognizes those moments and guides the conversation towards booking a meeting. This ensures you never miss a chance to engage further with a lead or client. Then we have seamless calendar integration. This integration with Google Calendar means that your customers can go from conversation to booking without any friction. No more juggling between different platforms, everything happens automatically within the chat. It's a smooth experience for the customer and a huge time saver for your team. Finally, time-saving automation. The key benefit here is that by automating the booking process, you're freeing up your team's time to focus on what really matters. This system does all the heavy lifting, so your team can focus on higher value activities that can move the needle. Now, let's take a quick look at the basic flow of this system. We'll break it down into a simple flowchart. It all starts when the user opens the chatbot service. The chatbot then greets them, ready to assist. Next, the user asks a question. At this point, the system checks if the question is about scheduling a meeting. If it's not, the chatbot simply answers the question and waits for the next one. But if the user does want to schedule a meeting, that's when things get interesting. The chatbot asks for their name, email, and preferred date and time for the meeting. Once that information is collected, we trigger the booking service, which creates the calendar event with all the details. Finally, the chatbot confirms back to the user that their meeting has been successfully booked. And that's about it. That gives a basic overview of how the system runs. Before we dive into the details, let's first take a moment to talk about the core technologies powering this entire system and what each one does. First up, we have Google Docs. In this setup, Google Docs is used to create the knowledge base for the chatbot. This could easily be replaced by a simple text file or a Word document. I've just used Google for convenience. Next is Dify. This is where the heart of the chatbot system resides. Dify is where the chatbot's logic, flow, and messages are all created and managed. We'll go into this in much more detail shortly, but in short, Dify is the platform that enables us to build the entire chatbot experience. Then we have make.com. This handles the functionality to book meetings. It acts as the bridge between the chatbot and your calendar, making sure the user's meeting details are transferred and the event is created seamlessly. Finally, there's the website. In this case, we're using a WordPress website to embed the chatbot, but this setup can easily translate across to any website that supports JavaScript, making it adaptable for almost any platform. Now, let's dive into how the knowledge base is structured. We'll start by taking a look at the Google Doc, where the content for the knowledge base is stored. As you can see, we've organized our content under header 2s throughout the document. The reason for using only header 2s is that we're using these headers as a way to break our information up into distinct sections. Instead of having a general services section with subheadings under a header 3, we've appended AI services to the start of each service and kept it as a larger header. This is because of the way the content is split and reused within the system. Now let's jump into Dify. Once you're in Dify, head over to the Knowledge tab. From here, click on Create Knowledge and upload your file. This is where the Google Doc we just saw comes into play. After uploading the file, you'll need to decide how you'd like your document to be split. This is where chunking comes in. Chunking is essentially the process of breaking down your document into manageable parts or chunks. Each chunk will contain a specific piece of information that can be retrieved later. Once you've set the delimiter, click Preview to see how your document will be chunked. You should see each chunk starting with the section heading, which is exactly what we want. Now you can leave all the default settings as they are. But I want to mention that options like the hybrid search can be really useful for sorting through and finding the most relevant information. I definitely recommend playing around with those settings to see what works best for your use case. Anyway, for now, we'll stick with the defaults, so click Save and Process, and then wait for it to finish processing. At this point, you'll want to hit pause and wait for it to finish processing before moving on to the next steps. With the knowledge base set up, we're now ready to create our chat flow. In my case, I already have a chat flow created. But for you, let's start from scratch. Go to the Studio tab, click Create from blank, choose chat flow, give it a name, and then click Create. Now jumping back into my own chat flow, before we dive into all the nodes, and yes, there's a lot to go over, let's first set up some core conversation variables. Conversation variables are important because they store key information that we'll need throughout the conversation. These variables will be used for handling user data and booking details. To access the conversation variables, click the little icon in the top right corner, and this will bring up a panel where you can manage them. In here, we have 5 variables set up. Let's go through them one by one. First, we have key points. This variable stores the key questions that the user has asked during the conversation. Make sure to select array string as the type for this variable. Next is booking meeting. This variable flags whether we're in booking meeting mode or not. Set this as a number with a default value of 0. Then we have chosen date and time. This variable will store the date and time the user provides. It's just a string. Email is another variable, which will store the email address the user provides. This is also just a string. And finally, we have name. This variable will store the user's name, which is another string. With these variables set up, we're ready to move on and dive into the individual nodes and explain how each one works. Let's now go through the conversation flow nodes. We start at the start node, and immediately we check to see if we're in meeting mode or not. The reason we do this is because if we're in meeting mode, we want to take a different path than we would for a standard question. But we'll come back to meeting mode in just a moment after we go through the rest of the flow. Let's skip past this check for now and look at the process as if someone has just typed a message. We now need to decide if any of the information they've provided is worth storing in our key points variable. So the first node here asks if there's anything specific that needs to be stored. If the answer is yes, great. We move on to the extract key points node. In this node, we tell the system what to look for, provide some guidelines, and give it example outputs before it processes the user's message. Whatever key points it extracts are then appended to the key points array. Once the key points are extracted or skipped if not needed, the system moves on to check the message content. In this case, we're looking to see if the user is requesting a meeting, a call, or a specific time. If it isn't, we follow one chain. If it is, we follow another. Let's start with the scenario where the user isn't requesting a meeting. Here, we're answering a question. We first use a knowledge retrieval call to pull relevant information from our knowledge base. We then send that information into an LLM, large language model, call, which generates the response. We use the answer node to output the response to the user. The user can then continue to ask more questions, and the cycle continues. That is, until the system detects that the message is requesting a meeting. When it recognizes the request for a meeting, we switch paths. First, we activate meeting mode by setting the booking meeting variable to 1. Then we send a request to the LLM to generate a message asking the user to provide their name, email, and preferred day and time for the meeting. When the user responds, we go back to the start of the chain, but now we're in meeting mode, so we follow the other path. At this point, we call the LLM again to extract the user's details from the information they've provided, and we return that as a JSON format. Next, we use a code node. The purpose of this is to take the JSON content from the LLM response and turn it into usable information within our workflow. The code cleans up the formatting, strips off any extra content, removes new line breaks that sometimes get added, and removes backslashes that can sometimes appear. While processing this, we also take all the key points from the conversation so far and join them together into one long string, separating each with a line break. Once everything's cleaned up, we return the information from the call, making sure to keep the same names in the return statement as we have in the output variables. With the code executed, we assign values to the conversation variables, setting the name, email, and chosen date and time to the details we've just extracted. We also exit meeting mode so the conversation can continue. Next, we make a call to make.com. We'll cover how to set up the webhook for this shortly, but it's important to remember that you need to set your webhook URL in the URL field at the top and include a body with form data to send through the relevant information, such as the name and email for the booking. This call will trigger the booking process in make.com, and in the respond module, we set the response to whatever is populated in Make's response. And that's the entire module sequence. Once the response is made, the conversation can continue, answering more questions or wrapping up as needed. Now let's move over to make.com to set up the workflow for booking the meeting. In make.com, you'll want to set up a new scenario. In this scenario, we'll have 4 nodes. The first thing we want to do is trigger the scenario from the webhook. So choose webhook, then select the custom webhook module. You'll need to add a new webhook here. Once it's created, copy the URL and paste it into the HTTP node we set up earlier in Dify. Next, we need to convert the day and time the user provided into a date timestamp that's compatible with Google Calendar. Since we're working with the assumption that the user wants to book a meeting, we'll provide instruction for the conversion. Your output must be in ISO 8601 format. We then feed this conversion the current date and time along with the value the user provided. This call will generate the correct timestamp format that we need for the next step. With that timestamp ready, we can now move on to creating the calendar event. For this, I've set up a testing calendar. The event name will be Chatbot Triggered Online Meeting. The start date will be the value we just obtained from the LLM. The duration will be a 30-minute conversation. In the description, we're adding the name, email address, and conversation key points. We're also including the attendees' information so it shows up on their calendar. And finally, since it's an online meeting, we'll be adding a Google Meet video conference to the calendar event. Once everything is set, this will create a Google Calendar event with all the details. Now, we just need the last node, a webhook response. This is the message that will be sent back to the user after the booking process is complete. For our case, the response will be, "Great, your meeting has been booked. Is there anything else I can do to help?" And that's the whole make.com setup. Make sure to hit save and turn it on before you test it out. Now let's move on to the final part of the implementation, embedding the chatbot into your website. Back in Dify, now that everything is ready, click Publish, then Publish Update to make everything live. Once that's done, you'll see an option to embed into site. There are a few different options here. In my case, I'm going to choose the option where the chatbot pops up when you click a little chat button in the bottom right of the screen, so I'll select that middle option. With this selected, you'll need to copy the provided code and paste it into your website. Now, I'll walk you through how to do this for a WordPress site. But the key thing to remember is that you're looking for a spot to paste this code into your website. Usually something like a header.php file or a backend code section in your CMS. For WordPress, here's how I would do it. First, go to Add New Plugin. Then search for Custom.js. I've used a plugin called Simple Custom CSS and JS by SilkyPress. Install and activate this plugin. Once activated, you'll see a new menu item in the backend called Custom CSS and JS. Hover over it and select Add Custom HTML. On this screen, delete any demo content that's there, then paste in the code you copied from Dify. Make sure to select Footer on the right side before you hit Publish. Now, if you go to the front end of your site, you should see the little chat button. Clicking that button will open up the chatbot. And that's it. The entire process to get the chatbot live on your site. And that's a wrap on setting up your chatbot system from start to finish. Now, your chatbot is live and ready to handle FAQs, book meetings, and automate the process seamlessly for you and your users. At AIWise, we're experts in AI and automation, helping businesses streamline operations and enhance customer experiences through smart automation solutions. Whether you're looking to automate workflows, improve customer interactions, or dive deeper into AI projects, we're here to make it happen. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level with AI and automation, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to help you get started and guide you every step of the way. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave any questions or comments below. Thanks for watching.